it's Frankie, Minister Frankie with Shine His Light, and I am here with the one and only author, one of my favorites, Jack Watts, and we are going to give you some Jack straight up with no chaser. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Gentleman Jack. But this Gentleman Jack doesn't drink and hasn't for a long, long time. I stopped when I became all pro.
There you go. And I don't drink either, so it's good. I had to throw in a little alcohol humor because I know that.
Well, we're Irish. That's what we do.
Yes, yes. And so, and that goes to your book. So one of his books, one of my favorites, is Hi, My Name is Jack. And that is a story about his life. And so I'm going to have you talk a little bit about that. And I know you got some really exciting projects coming up. So we'll talk about those. But can you give us a little bit on the Hi, My Name is Jack, or just a little color on your background and how you started writing, about the alcoholism that you went through, and you know, just, it's a long story and it's really good, but if you can just give us like the 500-foot overview, that'd be awesome.
Glad to do it. Maybe about, I guess, 10 or 11 years ago, I decided that I wanted to stop doing major projects for Christian ministries and do some writing of my own, because I wanted a little bit more of me and everything in it. And so I decided to write my own story, which really ended up being kind of a mystery, which I didn't know at the time. And it was good enough that one of my friends, who was a publisher at Simon & Schuster, said, "Jack, this is really good. Maybe we should publish this." And so he did. And of course, getting the releases from people to be able to publish a book like that took so long that I decided I really wanted to write fiction after that, to be honest with you. But the story, it ended up being the inspirational memoir of the year in 2011. So that was a really nice thing for me personally. But the catharsis of just getting some things out, because I knew that I was not as screwy as my life made me out to be, and that underneath there were some things. But by doing this kind of the catharsis of getting it out and being able to articulate it well, which I can do, it was healing. I mean, and it all had to do with with some recovery issues, but alcoholism isn't really about alcohol as much as it is about life, and not people. There are reasons that people drink.
That's right.
And it's self-medicating, and and it can take your troubles away for a day.
Yeah.
And then the next day, the self-loathing comes back, and it's worse because you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I was drunk. What did I,
where am I?
Well, and yeah, there were a few times where it's like, what did I do? Never where am I?
Oh,
thank the Lord.
Lucky.
But some things that I really wasn't proud of. So when I picked up a chip at AA and started to get sober, I only had to pick up one white chip because I was done when I was done. I said, I'd achieved being all pro at drinking. So I decided that was it. I needed to retire from it, and did. And at the same time, without the medication, all of the rest of the problems were there. And so that was what I wrote about and got it all out. And it was the most healing and cathartic thing I've ever done in my entire life. And here's the thing, if you're a writer and you start writing, that's who you become, and you can't stop. I feel like, I write every day. There's never a day that I don't write. And I've written now, I'm finishing my 21st book. That's a lot in maybe 13 years. 12 or 13 years. And I have a blog that's read in 150 countries, Pushing Jesus, and also my We Believe blog, which is a political one about Christians standing up for who they are, what they believe, and changing this country and making it what we inherited so that we can leave our children and grandchildren something that isn't this kind of mismatch of perverted nonsense, which is what we have right now, in my humble opinion.
Jack, straight up, no chaser. That's what we do. And he is known for that, guys. He's known for speaking the truth, no holds barred. He doesn't hold back, not shy about his beliefs. Christian, love that about you. He has written 21 books, and then we were talking about, we had dinner earlier, and we were talking about a book that you have coming up. Can I say about who it's about or anything
Sure.
like that? The guy who invented Warts Be Gone, right? And what I thought...
The spray,
the spray.
that you put on warts,
Yeah.
and they fluff off after and don't leave scars.
Yeah.
He invented the procedure for doing that. Really an interesting man and a really, really good guy. And a Facebook friend of mine. So we'll say nice things. No, he's a good guy. He's definitely a good guy.
Sounds like a good guy, and it's so, God, he has a sense of humor, I always like to say. And so God makes you go through things, and you don't know until sometimes way later down the road, and you're going, oh my goodness, God, what are you doing to me? Why are you making me go through this? What is happening? And in Hi, My Name is Jack, and when I was reading it, I almost fell on the floor. Jack actually had someone that he was involved with, in a relationship with, who did him wrong. Surprise! That happens sometimes. And so, anyway, this person had him put in jail, false accusations. You need to read the book; it's really good. And he couldn't even go back into his own house. So what is so crazy? And while he was going through that, I'm sure that you were saying, God, why am I going through this? What is going on? And then this project, when we sat down, he goes, I got this project because the guy read what I went through, and he had went through. Tell me a little bit about that.
Oh my God! It says anybody can write a book about crazy women. Says the Jack. At any rate,
Yes.
when I wrote the scene of this man being arrested, and where they took him to incarceration, I was to recreate it because I had been arrested, and the thing that I remember the most was the smells, and so I wrote about that, and the fellow was looking at me, how'd you know about that? I said, well, I don't know, I just picked that up someplace. But I did know about it. And,
firsthand.
Yes,
firsthand. And so that's why God had you, I think, go there.
Well, we never know what we do or why. And if we allow ourselves to wash ourselves in God's Word, we can get wisdom from our experiences that's based on some things that are not so pleasant, but at the same time provide tremendous value for the future if you have the capacity to learn from them.
Oh, yeah.
And that's the big deal is...
and own it and not have shame, I think. I think that's a big part of it, and that's why I look at you.
Well, see, that was the
so
thing
proud.
about How My Name is Jack.
Yeah.
Was I said when I wrote it, I said, if people can like me for who I really am, great. And if they don't, they can, you know what?
Yeah.
So I didn't realize how great the response would be, but it was tremendous. The book still sells, and it's an easy read, but it's very deep, and it's very emotional, and people get they connect with me. So there are a lot of people that have contacted me over the years and say, you know what, I know you can understand. And, you know, from that, you know, when the social media stuff started, I said, well, I need to be on Facebook or, you know, things like that, you know, just so that I can get, you know, some kind of audience. And so I got on, and then I started seeing what people think and what they believe, and I said, oh my God, what? How many fools can there be in America? And so
Be nice.
So I started writing some things, and now I think that my following is greater politically than it is with the recovery and spiritual things. But at the same time, I post about all of it, and I only have one site, and you know, Facebook, because they wouldn't allow me to post on other sites. They just kept knocking me off because they don't like conservative voices, and that's the truth. So I said, I'll just leave it all on my site and on my, you know, blog stuff and everything. And so my stuff has just grown substantially from doing that, because we say, well, if I can't find it there, I'll come to his site and do it. So and I post all the time, and you know, and I keep people current, so that there's never a day that goes by that I don't have somebody say, thank you for expressing what I feel in a way that's intelligible. And so that has become my purpose. And, you know, and I've embraced it. I like doing it. I'm good at it, and I know what I'm talking about.
That's what's powerful. And you're not just making things
No.
up to buy votes or to get people to like
Well,
you.
I don't make any money from it either.
No.
So, I mean, you know, that's the other part,
Yeah.
is that, you know, when you just do something because that's what you're supposed to do, and there's no, I don't get any remuneration for that. And frankly, it costs me, because writing the books and selling books, you know, can make money. But when you just tell people, say, well, listen, this is what's happening here, and if you pay attention, and if you link this with this and this with that, then you'll understand why our world is the way it is, and why we need to pay attention so that we don't lose our country to people who don't have sense enough to pour you-know-what out of a boot.
Yes, and I get it. And so that is more Jack Straight Up. We have got it all day here on American Hearts Radio, and so happy to have him and talk about some more of his books. Now, he's written about 21 books. Have the Moon series, and the Moon series was one of the most popular series, and I hear that you're making that into a movie or a docu-series, or what's going on with that? And you have somebody that's playing Jack Moon, I think, right?
Well, it's we're shopping it for a series, and it's about murders in the Buckhead area, and we've written a pilot for it, but it has not been picked up yet. So we don't, you know, that's still kind of on the wish list and Jack's bucket list, but that has not happened so far. At the same time, I'm, you know, involved in a second project, which is, you know, the Israel project, and I have some friends from Massachusetts. Frankly, I was the vice president of my student body in Newton High School, and there were like 3,500 students there. The president is been a friend of mine after all these years, and last time I went up to Boston, and you know, Newton is just a suburb, you know, kind of like Sandy Springs would be to Atlanta, and he said, I got something I want to show you, and he had this fellow who did 60 hours worth of interviews with people who not just survived the Holocaust, but these are the people who went to Israel in 1946 and 7 and were there when Israel gained its independence, and they tell their stories of what they did to create the nation of Israel, which my friends up in Boston are Jewish, and they look at this from a geopolitical perspective. That here, Israel has come back. When I heard what they were doing and saw what it was, I looked at it as the fulfillment of biblical prophecy with the restoration of the Jews to Israel, which is the most significant thing that has happened since Pentecost. And in the prophetic world. And so we're taking this material, it's at the History Channel right now for them to weigh in on do they want to do this or not. And my thought also is that this would be really great for one of the Christian networks, but we want a lot of people to see it. And so using a secular network, which is our first choice, is the way to do that. And history is the most logical one for this to happen. And you would think this would be a slam dunk, but doing anything where Hollywood is concerned,
it's tough.
It's tough, and if
Christ and getting people behind it. Oh yeah, and some people, they're probably. I mean, I know you like to educate, and so. What would you say, in your words, everybody has their own, but some people probably watch politics, is my thought, and they watch the talks about Israel, the arguments back and forth. In your words, tell everyone what the significance of Israel is and why we fight so hard for Israel and in regard to that subject.
Well, nations that support Israel are blessed by God. Those that do not are not blessed by God. And when you're not blessed by God, the antithesis of being blessed is cursed. So that's number one. And that's the number one for Christian people. Geopolitically, it's because it's a democracy in the Middle East. We're Christians. We can go to Israel and go to a church any place we want to. We're also allies with the Saudis. We can't do that in Saudi Arabia. We couldn't do that in Turkey. Turkey's in
most of the bordering states, so we always have to kind of protect Israel. And some people, I'm sure, wonder why that's important to us. And so in educating them, I think that's a good way of going about saying it, that they are closely related to us, and it's about God, and we are a sovereign country, and I think it's very important myself, but I know there's a lot of people out there, and I've had people ask me, what is the importance of Israel? So your words, you can always say things a lot better than I can.
Well, the restoration of the Jews to Israel is the first step towards the second coming of Christ. It couldn't happen without this having happened. People are fearful that, the Iranians want, and Palestinians want to, wipe Israel off the face of the earth. That's not going to happen. It's not possible for that to happen. And it's not possible for Americans to not support Israel. I mean, there are a lot that don't. The past administration hated them, really. This administration loves them and has shown it time after time after time after time. Thank God for that. But it's important for us, believers, as Christian people, to stand. What is Americanism all about? It's the foundation of who we are is the Judeo-Christian ethic. Part of the Judeo-Christian ethic is Judeo. There would be no Christianity if there were not Judaism. And just by the way, Jesus was always a Jew. He was never a Christian, because Christianity didn't begin until Pentecost. And he'd already been resurrected by that time. So, kind of an interesting, people don't really ever think about that one, but, you know, it's true.
Mm-hmm. And people get angry, and I see some of the love mail that you get. We get some of that, you know, contrary to popular belief, being Christians doesn't stop people from hating on you. Hater, like Angelica Hater. But one of his characters in one of his books has the last name, he gave her the last name Hayder, Hayder. And I thought that was really clever.
Well, I like to do stuff like that.
It's really fun, isn't it? So the Israel Project, that's very exciting, and we all want to pray. We want to lift him up in prayer, because I really believe in that project, and I believe that the American History Channel, it's the American History Channel that you gave it to, or A&E, or whoever's out there listening, I believe that it deserves a spot there, and all of that hard work and all of those interviews and everything, it deserves a light, and so we want to shine a light on that.
This is history in the first person.
Yeah.
These are people who are close to being gone, because they're the height of what they did was in 1948. That's a while ago. So
like 75
they're
or 70s.
yeah, that's right. So they're in their 90s,
Yeah.
and so they're just dying as natural death. But what they did and how they did it, and they became unlikely heroes, and that's the name of our little TV show, is that it's Unlikely Heroes, because these are people that just 3 and 4 years earlier were marching willingly into gas chambers in Auschwitz, in Bergen-Belsen, in Treblinka, and all the rest of them, and now here they are standing up to the British blockade, because the British did not want Israel to exist. The only people who stood with Israel were the United States.
USA! USA! USA!
And that's the truth. It's the truth.
I'm all about it.
And just by the way, the person that did this
Yes.
was Harry Truman. He was a Democrat. Mm-hmm. But he was a Democrat like ones that we don't know anymore. I mean, there was none of this, everything's for free and we're just going to hand it out to you. And, he was for responsibility.
And kill the babies even when they have a heart, when they're full term. Tell me a little bit about that. Now, I know that's going to get them upset, but we'll try to rein it in a little bit. But I know that you have a heart for abortion, and that you speak out and you're adamant about, that being, that not being something that the U.S. needs to support, and very much against it, and your stance, and you get a lot of love mail for that, I'm sure. A lot of people speak out for that, and I don't understand it myself, but tell me your take on that.
Well, this is really part of Hi, my name is Jack. I at the University of Georgia in the mid-'60s took a girl to the drive-in, and it was a terrible movie.
What movie?
I don't remember, but we created a child instead.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fun.
So her
All
first.
you kids watching, that's not what you do at a drive-in.
They don't have drive-ins anymore.
They have
but,
one near Little Five, the Starlight Drive-In.
Well, at any rate, her first choice was to have an abortion, and that was illegal because it was before Roe v. Wade. She went to a Campus Crusade for Christ meeting, as did I, and she changed her mind, and she gave the baby away. I won't go into what a lot of the rest of the story was, but 25 years later, I met a young man who was my son and his wife, and they subsequently had a daughter and then twin sons 3 years later. My granddaughter is now married, and her husband is in the Navy, and they are stationed at Port Hueneme. And one of my grandsons just signed a pitch with the Los Angeles Dodgers last week. if the drive-in had been after Roe v. Wade,
He wouldn't be alive.
he wouldn't be alive.
So the
And he's gonna
Dodgers would
pitch.
have missed a
He's
heck
gonna
of a
pitch
player.
He's gonna. You know what my prayer is? That the Dodgers keep him, and that he pitches in Chavez Ravine, and I will tell the story in the pit of hell, which is Los Angeles, California.
Yes,
So-
we got to do something there. You know, I've got a heart for LA myself. I've been out there, and Skid Row has a piece of my heart, and I just think it's so horrible that you can stand on top of the Union Rescue Mission, and you can look down and you can see Beverly Hills, and you have 2,500 people living on the street down there. So it's so important that we definitely get these messages out there, and we get the messages out that it's a lie. It's a lie from people that abortion is not murder. It's a lie that it's okay. Now, having gone through one myself when I was very young, and as anybody that knows me knows, there's no shame to my game. I've been forgiven, and Jesus Christ will forgive you too. But
Yes.
that doesn't give you the right to go do it, and you don't want to, because trust me, the pain that you live with. And when you get older and when you're younger, and some of these girls that are using it as a form of birth control, so they go and sleep with someone, and oops, I'm pregnant, I got to get an abortion. That's not what you need to do. Use birth control in the moment. Prevent that from happening, because it is murder. It is on your soul. It is a burden when you get older, and you're going to live with regret. And, you know, I thought about it in other situations. Thank God I didn't. My life would be different, and it's blessed. So I think that's why we have a passion about it, and people like to argue about it, and they like to dumb it down into a man is taking control of my body. Well, thank God for that man then, because if there is a man standing there that will tell you not to do that to yourself, not to murder an innocent being just because you don't know what else to do, talk to someone, reach out to someone that does know how to guide you in the right direction. So if a man is asking you or telling you not to do that, he's doing you a favor. He's doing a huge favor, and you will end up on the other side of that when you're a little older and you think a little differently, because when we're young we don't think we're going to change.
No.
But we do.
And we don't think that these things will follow us, but
they do.
Oh boy.
They do.
One of my friends I was talking to on the phone, and she had had an abortion over 30 years earlier.
Yeah.
And she was still devastated and said, you know, I don't believe God will ever forgive me. Well, God forgives her.
Yes.
She just doesn't forgive herself.
That's right.
And it takes a huge chunk away from who you are and who you're capable of being, and you're making an innocent being pay a death penalty for your sin. And man, that just, something about that just isn't fair, you know.
Well, it's
And
not fair to you, you know. And people can say it's all about the baby, it's all about the fetus, it's all whatever they want to call it. They've got a million names, but it's a person, it's a living being. If it has a heartbeat, then and God forms you in the womb, trust and believe that. And I know I have a very good relationship with Him and talk to Him about anything that's going to come out of my mouth. And best believe that you were formed in the womb, but it's also about you, the woman. It's not about you getting to do what you want to with your body, but it's about protecting you from not making a horrible mistake. Sometimes, just like your parents, when I was younger, my parents would tell me not to do something, not to go get the car, not to go out with a certain guy, not to go out and drink, not to go out and party, not to take certain drugs, not to do this. Sometimes I did all of them, didn't listen, and I regret that. And they were only doing it out of love. So I think that, you know, the right is not only trying to protect the babies, but they know a lot of times, you know, when you're a little older, you see these things. And
well, when a baby cries, what do?
You go to its aid.
You go to it. You pick it up.
You go to its aid.
Because they're innocent, and that's all they have is crying.
Yeah.
You cannot hear a baby cry in the womb.
No.
When they're being sucked out.
But
they do.
Oh, if you could.
This is, and that, I mean, you know, I don't know how you go against the maternal instinct to do this, but have been 50 million in the United States since Roe v. 50 million? That's more than the total population of California, and just throw Georgia in with it together.
That's a lot. It's a lot. Just think about that.
Yeah.
That's stunning.
Every man, woman, and child. Legal and illegal. Pretty sad.
Oh, it's very sad. And it hurts me, you know, that people are so adamant, and they get so upset in protecting the right to basically murder. But I, you know, if anybody's hurting, or if anybody's out there, I'll just say this, you know, on that subject real quick, reach out to me. I have many friends too that have went through it, and, you know, just to hear the other side. Give your child a fighting chance, because even if you don't want it, there are so many children out there, and so many people that want babies that can't have them. So I think
I'm going to get to go see my grandson pitch, hopefully in the major leagues, hopefully for the Los Angeles, although I am a Boston Red Sox fan. I mean, you know.
Yeah, so we are going to get ready to wrap up Jack straight up with no chaser, and we are so grateful for you guys joining in. We love you all, wherever you may be. Just go out today and shine his light, and be light, be love, show somebody love, show somebody how to love. Anything else you got to add, Jack?
No. Vote.
Vote, definitely. Yeah, so go out, love on people, be love, be light, and we love you guys.
Bye-bye. Thank you.